Good morning. I've just popped on my activewear. Oop, mind the camel toe. It's Lululemon and I'm doing Pilates today, so I've got my little socks on and it's sort of winding down from summertime, so it's starting to get really dark. The whole house is black. In my mind, it's like the middle of the night, so I need to be like, let's get the day going. Let's get it. I just finished up Pilates and I'm sweaty. I feel like it's such a common misconception that like Pilates is like chill, that it's like flow yoga and it's just like stretching and moving. My God, every single muscle in my body was shaking with fatigue. It is such a good workout. Like I literally am loving Pilates at the moment. It's 6:38. I'm gonna go home, wash this hair of mine. I'm so thirsty, but like I'm really feeling good today. Like I'm in a really good mood, feeling really motivated. I had literally the worst day ever yesterday, and I'll tell you more about that later. But I'm gonna take this mood and I'm gonna run with it. It's an activewear kind of day today. I just need to be comfortable and get shit done. So I'm not even wearing a real bra. I'm wearing a crop top and full Lululemon. Gonna take in my big DJ Bose cancelling headphones and hopefully just be in the zone for at least like a good 6 hours worth of work. I feel like this color is my favorite color. It's like a light musky pink. Obsessed. I need to finish drying my hair a little bit. It's not even 7 o'clock. I'm just gonna make a coffee and grab a couple of bits for lunch and get out the door. So I'm not going to do any makeup. I want to be comfortable and I'm literally not interacting with anyone today. So I'm just going to do my skincare. I'm just using my Alpha H vitamin C serum. I really like this one. And I got this as a little freebie, the Dr. Dennis Gross under eye cream. Wouldn't repurchase. I'm not like super pro eye cream. And just my HA moisturizing factors. My favorite sunscreen ever. Love it. But I feel like in order to feel like my best self, I need to be wearing perfume. And I feel like today's perfume, let's do Jo Malone Scarlet Poppy. I really like this one. It's like nice and it's kind of like vanilla-y. Big fan. Just pop on my everyday jewelry. Just got my watch and my engagement ring. That's all I'm going to worry about. I just have these earrings in all the time. They're Ana Luisa. Not sponsored, I bought these, but I have not taken these out for literally 2 years. They are 14 karat gold, I believe, and like freshwater pearls, and they, I think, were like $50. Like such a good, I've actually been meaning to like reach out to them and be like, hi, I don't want to be sponsored, but like, can you give me a discount code? Because I really like your products and I want to share them like with you guys. And like, there's no harm in asking, right? What's the worst they could do? Say no. My very appetizing looking breakfast, baked beans, tomato SPC has to be, and some buttered sourdough. Yum. Just got a little snack. Working on my document. I'm home. Hello guys, how are we? It is 1:45. I haven't had any lunch yet, but I did have those cinnamon buns. Yes, I ate both of them. They were delicious. I brought leftover curry for lunch, which I will have when I've finished in here. I just need to feed some of my long-term cultures. They're an ECM study, so an extracellular matrix study, which is what is produced by cells. And I have a couple of different treatments. I have some growth inactivated cells just treated with mitomycin, and I also have added some vitamin C, which speeds up the growing of the ECM and makes it like way more dense, which is a really fun finding. Basically, I had the worst day of my entire PhD yesterday. I literally cried for the first time in front of one of my supervisors. I have one supervisor who's actually not technically a supervisor. He is from a different university, and I just had no option but to go to him for help, because my main supervisor, as soon as she took me on, literally like I was a month in, she's like, oh, I'm pregnant, I'm going on leave for a year. And I had literally just started, I didn't know how to do anything, and I was like very much like just shoved and yeeted in the deep end. So she was like, oh, just have this person help you. So I literally moved institutions, even though I'm still technically enrolled and all my funding comes from a different university. I'm just like here hanging out with this lovely guy who actually was her supervisor, because my main supervisor is a very young, early career type researcher. She hasn't had a student before, I am her first. And basically I don't see her. I see her in person maybe like 2 or 3 times a year. I'm in my 3rd year now of my PhD, hopefully my final year. And she is just not very contactable. She takes weeks, over a month. I sent a manuscript, and my other supervisor, who isn't really my supervisor, got back to me with some really constructive feedback, and I literally see him every day. He spends 8 hours in the lab with me, helping me do things. He literally is like saving my life. I'm so grateful to him. But yeah, she is my main supervisor, and I find her a little bit challenging. Yesterday we had a meeting, the 3 of us, and she basically said, you're not going to finish on time. Do you even want to be a PhD student? I'm like, probably don't ask me that when I have literally 6 months to go. My thesis is half written up and all my experiments are done. Like, it just felt like she was really like attacking me, and I've never missed a deadline. I'm very much on track. So I just felt a little bit beaten down yesterday. But my other supervisor is just like, don't even worry, like, we're gonna get this done, you and me, this thesis, it'll get done. It's like, don't even worry. But yeah, she'll say things like, oh, you need to do up a full plan of what you're gonna do in the next few weeks. And I'm like, okay, cool. Is there anything in particular that you want me to do? Because in my mind, I'm just writing up my thesis, because pretty much all of my experiments are done. Like, I'm just on my last one at the moment. And she's like, yeah, you need to redo this experiment. And I'm like, oh, do I? That's the first I've heard of this. What do you want me to do differently? Happy to do it again. And she would just not answer my question. So I think someone's here. I'm scared. Like, I don't want to say too much or like be out of line for, I guess, talking ill of someone, but that's not my intention. My intention is just like to keep my life real with you guys. And I think having issues with your supervisory team when you're a PhD student is something, unfortunately, that's really common. I did my master's by research, and my supervisor for that was also challenging, but in a different way. He was more of like a helicopter. He was more like, you need to be here 12 hours every single day forever. And he was really intense, and his personality, I think, clashed with mine a little bit. He was very vulgar and inappropriate and old, and I just sort of like took that for what it was. But in the end, like, I was grateful that he was passionate about his work, and he always had time for me as a student. When I compare, this supervisor is completely different. She is nowhere to be found. The support is quite literally non-existent. And I know that a PhD is really independent, and a lot of it falls on the student, because it's that transition from student to teacher, and you need to be making up your own experimental designs and all of that. And I'm so happy to be independent, but you do need support. I've literally never done any of these experiments before, and so much of everything that I've done has just been me trial and error, doing my own research, seeing how other people have done it, and just fucking hoping for the best, because there's no one I can ask. Well, I can ask my supervisor, but the main one is, in my opinion, not fulfilling her tasks as a supervisor. And so she was on leave for a year. Now she's returned part-time, but she teaches like undergrads during the days that she works. So she has 0 time for research, 0 time for the grant and the research that we do collectively, and 0 time for me as a student, which, it is what it is. I posted on Instagram last night when I was like in the middle of my little breakdown, and you guys are so sweet. I literally got inundated with messages being like, don't even worry, you're gonna do great. And like, it meant literally so much. So like, thank you to everyone who is on Instagram. I love my little community. a lot of people were like trying to problem solve for me and like give me some solutions, which like I'm super grateful for. Things like, oh, like report her or leave, find a new supervisor. Like I said, I'm 6 months out of finishing. All the work is pretty much done, and the work is her work, right? It's her research, and the money is attached to her and her lab, and I'm within her lab. So it's not really, I'm not really able to change. And as much as I would absolutely love to sort of not have her as my supervisor, have this other person as my supervisor, that would involve changing institutions, changing universities, which just is not something that you can do. As for sort of giving feedback to the university that I am at, funny story. So I have like a main supervisor, which is this woman who I feel is not supportive and just really negative, and just feels like she wants to make me feel incompetent and stressed all the time, but in a really not constructive way. Like it's literally like she does not want to help me. That's what it feels like. But way before I had any of these real issues, I have another supervisor who I have met once and has not come to a single seminar, assessment, anything of mine. Like if I crossed him in the street, he wouldn't know me from a bar of soap. And he is on like all of my papers, and he's down as being like a 40% supervisor to me in my project. And I'm like, we don't know each other. So how could you possibly be involved in me and my project when I literally met you on my first day 3 years ago? And so that I was like, surely that's not right. So I contacted my university and I was like, hey, this guy is like 40% my supervisor. He can't be bothered to come to literally anything. He is not, like, he's invited and he just like ghosts it. He's just like removed himself from like me and my project and like my little circle. And they're like, oh yeah, no, it's just a formality. Like having a supervisor is like just a formality. Like we don't, it's fine that you don't know him and he doesn't actually supervise you, even though that's his job and that's what he's getting paid for. And I'm just kind of like, pretty sure I deserve a supervisory team that it supervises. So yeah, I just feel like this is not what I expected it to be. And I do feel let down by a couple of people, but at the same time, I need to make the most of it. I feel like I have actually done a really good job of being really independent and figuring it all out on my own. And I think the thing that made me so upset yesterday was when I was going through my data, and it was the first time that this particular supervisor had ever seen the data, even though I sent it to her a few months ago. She was like, yeah, walk me through it. Because we had to meet to go through the data, and I'm just like, do we need to meet? Can't you just look at the documents that I've sent you and then contact me with any specific questions you have, and then I'm happy to talk to you. But I don't want to go through it from start to end. That's not a valuable use of my time when I literally have given you the information. Anyway, so we meet and I walk her through everything and I say, yep, this is the experiment that I did, this is the finding, this is the experiment that I did, this is the finding. She goes, well, why did you do it like that? Like, well, that was the experimental plan. I wrote it myself based on current literature. And I sent you that experimental plan, last year before I actually did it. So why are you acting like it's a surprise to you? And she got pretty annoyed, it sounded like. She was like, oh, you shouldn't have done that. What's your research question? What's the point of doing that? What did you find out from doing that? And I'm just like, you can't not be supportive and not be a part of it, leaving me to my own devices so that when I do come up with my own work, you get annoyed with me. Like, which is it? Do you want to help and be involved, or do you not? Because when you're not, which you aren't, you need to probably not be so critical of the work that I've literally had to figure out for myself, given absolutely zero guidance. Anyway, so my advice would be, don't do a PhD if you are someone who isn't very good under pressure, isn't very good at working independently, or I guess innovatively, like coming up with literally your entire project on your own, doing experiments that fail, and then having to go back to the drawing board being like, hang on, what am I doing again, and how can I do this? What are other people doing? With unfortunately very little support. I didn't know this when I started. She seemed really passionate and into the project when I first met her, and I was like, yeah, I want like a young, trendy, in touch professor who is passionate about the work, because I am so passionate about the work. I love all things eye and all things cells, and she just doesn't give a damn. It's just such a shame. And And I think that this other supervisor who supervised her is like everything that a supervisor should be: supportive, very level-headed. He's just wise. He's always there to help me, and he doesn't get flustered, and he's just like, this is the nature of it. You'll do it and it won't work, and you'll do it again and it won't work, and then you'll just need to, it's just the way that it goes. And like, he like really grounds me. So I think that you should do a PhD if you have done significant research on the supervisor and they have had a good amount of students before. That's like the number one thing, that my supervisor has never supervised a student before. I'm the first, and I really, 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 really hope that I'm the last. So yeah, it's really not been a positive experience in terms of like admin and politics and like actually being taught and being a student, but the actual like experiments and learning and the flexibility and having your own work and your own research and your own experiments and being responsible for your own papers and your own thesis and having something really novel and unique to say that hasn't been discovered before is like something really special and really cool. And so I don't regret doing a PhD, but I feel like my advice to my younger self and to anyone else out there considering research would be to really, really look into your potential supervisory team. Make sure you're doing a project that you actually care about and that you can see yourself doing at 9 p.m. on a Saturday night when you would rather be anywhere else because you care about the work. That's my little rant thought of the day. I feel like doing a PhD is not difficult. The content and the work isn't difficult, but like the number of times you get knocked down and like your work just doesn't work is like pretty demoralizing, and you just need to be like, it's fine, let's try again. It's fine, let's try again. Like, it just, more than anything, it tests your patience. And yeah, I just feel like it's a shame because I love this work, and my supervisor here is just chef's kiss. Like, I'm so grateful to him. I even said to him yesterday, I was like, if it wasn't for you, if it was just me and her and me meeting with her twice a year, like, I would have probably dropped out. I would have gone somewhere else because it wouldn't have been worth it. I wouldn't have been actually able to finish with zero guidance. You can't just get a little pleb 23-year-old and be like, yeah, just do a PhD on your own. 4 years, go on. No, I'm not gonna help. Like, I'm not even gonna engage. You can't do that. So I had a bit of a sad, sorry for myself night last night. Had some ice cream, called my mum, had a bit of a cry, called Leo, had a bit of a cry, went on Instagram, had a rant and had a bit of a cry. And I woke up today actually feeling like, you know what? Let's do this. And I cannot even like express my gratitude to you guys. Someone was like, you know what? Make today your bitch. And like things like prove her wrong and like, you know, all of that stuff. And I'm just like, thank you guys so much. Like, it's like I'm FaceTiming my friends, you know, just rant, just a girl and her small problems. So yeah, I'm gonna feed my cells. I'm gonna heat up my lunch. I'm going to try and work a little bit more on my paper and my thesis document. I do need to leave here by about 2:15 because I have a little date at 3, and that's pretty much the plan for today. Pretty chill, crazy day. I have totally fallen off the wagon with like vlogging. As you can imagine, most of my energy is being focused on this whole PhD thing. I'm also teaching, so all day tomorrow I'm going to be teaching from 8 until 6:30, and then we're heading up the coast for the triathlon, so that's really fun. This afternoon actually as well, I need to plan my lesson, my class for tomorrow. We are doing the entire cardiovascular system, which is insane, in 1 week. So they've had a workshop yesterday, and it's ginormous. It's like one body system each week. It's so much content. So I'm going to try and find some little diagrams and some like really active recall things for them to do, because they're really good. They always come with like their workbooks filled in, and they just want to look at the models and the donor materials. So that's that. Let's have a look at my little cells. So I'm going to show you what these cells look like under the microscope. These are our healthy choroidal mesenchymal stromal cells, so stem cells that we've been able to get from the back of the human eye. So they're super confluent. There's layers and layers of them with extracellular matrix. And then I'm going to show you the growth inactivated ones, so the ones that model diseased cells. Let's have a look. So these are our growth inactivated cells. You can just see the morphology of them is really different. And these are actually going to be for protein mass spectrometry studies. So we're going to get a whole protein reading of all of the differences in what they contain. I'll show you as well one of the normal cells, the healthy cells, but treated with vitamin C. So these are our healthy cells treated with ascorbic acid or vitamin C, and they just create such a thick extracellular matrix. So it's basically tissue at this point. It's so thick, and all of the collagen and other cellular excretions are just caked in there. So it's going to be really interesting to see the protein when we do that next week. I just printed off some teaching materials for tomorrow, and I'm heading home. I put a base and some mascara on. I'm wearing this cute little jumpsuit, and I'm going to my little date to catch up. Heading home now. Isn't this like print so bizarre? It looks dirty. I'm at the Hotel X. Oh my god, it's so bougie. The rooftop is insane. 10 out of 10. Just want to go home, lay on my couch, and just vibe and be in silence. I'm wearing a really small amount of the Hourglass Unlocked mascara, like just on my top lashes, and I literally put it on less than 2 hours ago, and I'm already getting like smudging under my eye, which makes me so mad because it's so expensive. And I'm like, you quite literally have one job. Stop being shit. I am freshly showered. I'm feeling, oh, I think I just put tzatziki on my chin. Feeling so fresh, so relaxed. I'm just planning tomorrow's lesson. I'm having some sakata, so like rice crackers with tzatziki. Absolutely delicious. I'm actually about to film an episode of the podcast, and I think I should give it a name. I've had it for like, how long have I had it? Maybe like 6 months? No, more than that. Anyway, it's just on Patreon. I'll link it below. I do have a little $2 paywall, but all of the profits are donated to charity, 100% of them, and we like vote for the charity together. It's super cute. Love you all. Anyway, so it's going to be an episode on that, and I spill the absolute tea. Oh my god, it's so spicy. Like, there is absolutely no chill. Anyway, I just have a couple of things that I need to update the girlies on, so I'm going to record an episode of that and hopefully put it out today. And I didn't make it to the post office, and I really need to because I have orders to send, and I have a whole bunch of stuff in my PO box. So it's okay not to get everything on your to-do list done. It's realistic, but just try again tomorrow. So this shouldn't take me long. I think this will take maybe like half an hour, and then I'm just going to chill. I'm currently reading The Ruin. It's a thriller. It's really good. Highly recommend. And waiting for Leo to get home. I can't be bothered cooking, so I'm having some ramen. This is the best kind. It is my favorite. It's the kimchi one. I only add half of the seasoning because that's a lot of sodium. Delicious.